Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are live once again with the second edition of the Mom Show, courtesy of Brunswick. We are broadcasting live right now from Jamaica. We're broadcasting to Barbados, to Trinidad and Tobago, as well as to St. Lucia and some of the other amazing territories throughout the region. I am so happy to be here. And I'm so happy once again that Brunswick saw the value of partnering with Island Mom on this series. And we have some great episodes coming up for you in the next few weeks. So tonight I have a very special guest. I'm about to welcome her into the Mom Show. But I want to say a big up to Brunswick for definitely seeing the value. And we're going to be kind of going into a spin-off of the first season. So before we had really touched on mindfulness and openness and momentum. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing this time around, but we're going more in depth. So we're going to be talking to a bunch of different moms about their different journeys. We're going to have a few practice sessions with other moms who are specialized in their fields. But tonight it's all about mindfulness and openness tied in with a wonderful lady by the name of Meera from Trinidad and Tobago, and she's going to be sharing her story with us. So I want to welcome Meera immediately. Hello, Meera.
Hi, Anika.
Welcome to the Mom Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So just a little context for everyone. Meera and I actually met through Instagram, and it was very random in terms of our connection. I think because both of us were in marketing, we kind of gravitated towards each other, and so I would big her up on a post, and she would like a post, and then one day she shared a image, and it was the image of her logo, and it connected with me on a very deep level. And I messaged her immediately, and right then we became friends. Like, I would like to say that we're long lost sisters.
Yep,
We
definitely.
definitely made a connection. But tell us, Meera, tell the folks. We're talking about being mindful and being open to receive. And your entire journey has been one of being open to receive.
Yeah,
People in Trinidad may be familiar with your story because a few weeks ago, maybe it's weeks, maybe a month.
we, yeah, the beginning of June.
Yeah, about a month ago,
Yes,
you
a month.
you were very open with your struggles, and you had a wealth of support from your community and people around the world. But I want folks to stick around for that part of the conversation. But I really wanted to talk to you about your path. So tell us who is Meera? Who is Meera?
Mira is like any mother, any woman. I am a female on a journey to find myself. I think, before, when I was younger, I would define myself by what I did and what I had and that kind of thing. But now it's really um, becoming a mother changed everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it added to that journey of just me trying to figure out who I am and to honor me and the goddess in me, and that's the journey. So that's who I am right now, is just discovering all of me.
Mm-hmm. I like that you said the goddess in you. We're going to talk about like the goddess initiative later on as well.
Yeah.
But tell me in terms of your journey to openness. You've been through quite a lot, just even from childhood coming up. And based on our discussions, you've spoken about one particular um, momentous moment in your life where you had to shift your path or your perspective. Would
Yeah.
you be willing to share that with the other moms?
Yeah, sure. Back in 2009, I got pregnant with my first child. It was a boy, and we at 7 months I went in for a normal checkup, and he didn't have a heartbeat, and
Mm,
so his name is Cade, and I lost him, and that at the end of 2009, that started my journey into myself, because I don't know, it was the most painful thing I've had to go through, but it made me look up around my life, and it's like, well, what is important? Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
And do I really have what I want? And so, like, having that happen to me and go through losing my child, and that's the one thing I knew since I was young. I knew nothing about, like, I was always unsure of what I wanted in life, but I knew I wanted to be a mother. And losing him changed everything for me, and it made me start to look at myself and what was around me, if the things that I was doing made sense. Because once you lose a child, you lose any sort of hope for anything else around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made me start to dig into my childhood and try to heal it. It didn't come immediately. I went along a not so pleasant path, but it
Mm-hmm.
made helped me find all of the pieces of me back to where I was balanced again.
I mean, people, there are quite a few memes out there that have like a parallel of what people think healing looks like. You know, it's all
Hmm.
ooh, but it's messy.
It's
It is
messy.
messy. So,
It
but
is.
tell me a little bit about your childhood.
So I grew up in the south of Trinidad, and basically a typical poor family. We didn't have much of anything. I had alcoholic, abusive parents, and you more or less didn't really, as a female, as a girl, you didn't have choices. At 14, you were to be married and sent off to your very older husband's home, and that was it. Make children and nothing else. And I always knew that I was just a fiery little child, and I
Mm-hmm.
always fought it. And luckily for me, my secondary school made all the difference because they saved me. I passed for Ashley Girls College in San Fernando, and they, from the minute I entered, all the synchronicities that would have put me on this path happened, and they took care of me, and it changed my life towards moving out of that abusive home into something else. But the lessons from that will obviously stays with you, you know. But it had a big part to play in everything that I am, in wanting to move out of poverty and help girls like me and become something different than what I was told I was going to be.
Mm-hmm. What would you be willing to share what you were told? Because I mean, we're talking about basically unearthing some really dark truths that we tell ourselves, or what we're told is truth of ourselves from
Yeah.
childhood. What are some of the things that you've had to work through?
Well, the when I chat with people, and most of the people who know me would have heard pieces of my story, that almost every type of abuse you could think of for
Mm-hmm.
people to go through, I've been through. So from molestation and rape and physical abuse and just emotional trauma, because they were, we weren't allowed to be kids,
Mm-hmm.
and so all of those things more or less
Mm-hmm.
helped me growing up here.
So, in terms of losing Cade and going through that process of deep loss and having to now face your childhood, how did that culminate for you in that moment?
Um, I could remember being like, I got divorced soon after I lost my son. Like, I couldn't handle anything that was around me, so it just destroyed everything in my life, exploded, imploded, whatever you call it. And I was alone, and there was a moment where I realized that if I had to move forward, if I had to go anywhere, I had to go back. If I wanted to go forward, I had to start to dig into the reasons, the things that I was hating from. And I remembered thinking about my mother and trying to understand her. Because when my son died, I tried to understand death, I tried to understand life, I tried to understand everything in one. And there was a moment where I felt like I could see my mother and look at her, because she didn't have such a good path either. And that where one moment of pain impacted all the way down, even into her children's lives, and it echoed. And I felt like if I had to move forward, I had to heal that, dig into that pain and trauma to be able to heal, to move forward. And I always describe it as like going back into muck, because there was so much layers of trauma and awful things just buried, because you're not allowed a space to express how you feel and go through these things. And
Mhm.
so that thought that moment of, okay, if I have to move forward from this and survive and live, I have to heal
Mm-hmm.
from what I went through and face it, because there were a lot of things that were repressed and I didn't want to think about it. So that started what, my own shadow work and my digging into it.
What was the process of healing for you like? What was it like?
Up and down and in between, very, very roller coaster, because there would be movement forward and then back, and many, many days of really bad depression and not sure if I'd even make it, because it was so dark, it was so heavy, it was so much. So
Mm-hmm.
like, you think healing and awakening is the zen and own process, and it is not. It was icky and murky. And even when I speak to people now, when I try to help them, I always say, like, you really never know. You never know if you're gonna make it through, because there's positive thinking and affirmations and all of those things help and going forward. But when it's so deep, you just have to go through it. And it's not exactly pleasant at all. There were lots of, like, I did go down a bad path. I started to smoke and drink and just try to distract myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess medicate in that way to hide from my pain. But so some days I would be better, some days I would not be. Eventually, I settled into studying yoga and being more mindful. And I started with my friend Vade. He started taking me to do yoga, and we eventually moved from there. And that's where the process started. So he would be that person who started it for me, got me into thinking more about my choices and taking responsibility for my life, because I would have been blaming my family and everybody else for what was happening. But the real and proper healing started where it sunk into here that stuff happened to me, yes, but I am responsible for my healing. So based on what happened, what choices have I made, and how can I make different choices to move forward?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned being more mindful. What does mindfulness mean to you?
Um, Being present, and it's been some moments I have it, some moments I don't. But this year, I think I learned how to do that, just to be present, and it is a practice. Mindful means every single thing that I do, I am in it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware of it. I'm conscious of it, and I try to delve into that emotion or feeling or moments as much as possible. So being a mother, I give my all to that. And if I have, my art or whatever I do, moments in the day, and to be grateful for everything. Just my gratefulness practice is what changed my life, because it changed my perspective on everything that was happening. And it went from a victim mindset to an
Mm-hmm.
empowered one, because it's like, I have so much. I have so much in this life. And so every day was a beautiful process.
How did you move from that victim mindset into that empowered mindset? Was it with the gratitude exercises?
Yeah.
How did you do
It
that?
was it was the gratitude exercises, and it was self-talk and having conversations. I have this wonderful, wonderful group of friends. The Wild Woman Collective, and they would be my sounding board, and we would chat. And the moments when I wasn't able to bring myself out of it, they would be there to hold me and support me and go, you have a lot, and we love you. And that support made all the difference for me, because I don't think without them, they have felt like this big, cushy, you know, support for me that I can, every time I falter, they help me move forward. But just
Mhm.
gratitude, self talk, and their words to me.
And when you say self-talk, because it's funny when I've actually had this conversation with someone recently about how you talk to a teenage girl in particular, one particular girl that we're talking about, because by default, her response goes to more or less very negative self talk. Whether that's learned or something that she has observed through like media and so forth. And
Mhm.
that self talk, or how we talk to our children, then almost becomes their inner voice as they get older.
Mhm.
So that sense of how we talk to ourselves and how we talk about ourselves in front of our children also
Yeah,
impact them.
it makes a
So
big
so
difference.
that negative self-talk, or that self-talk that you had to shift from the victim persona into more of an empowered persona. Do you think that came where do you think that came from? The victim self-talk. Did that come from more of your childhood?
It is my childhood. When you grow up in a space where you have no safety, because
Mm-hmm.
as a child, like having to raise Isabella, one of the biggest things I focused on was making sure she feels safe. Because how I grew up, it was awful. So besides the abuse, we were never safe. My father was always as either he would try to hurt us or set the house on fire or kill my mother, kill us. And so there was no safety, no stability. And so you felt like there was a villain, there was somebody attacking you. And so like even into my adult years, I would have nightmares about him because he was always coming to get me. And so that victims, and they would say stuff like, as a child I was called down, like lots of mean things, and so that stuck with me, that I was not good enough, I was not worthy to be loved. And so I just kind of sunk into myself.
Mm-hmm. In terms of what, because I know that you and I, we've had our conversations, and
Mhm.
there is only so much that you can share, which would not necessarily be, frankly, overwhelming.
Yeah,
And even ahead of this conversation, we spoke about the fact that you kind of, you yourself, you go through a process of having to select what you're going to air
sure.
in terms of your journey because of how traumatic it was for you. I
Yeah.
think where I'm going with this in terms of the line of questioning is how wonderful of a person you are and how you've been able to maintain that beautiful aspect of you despite the hardships that you've gone through. Like, how were you able to heal? Because you mentioned your father a while ago, and you
Mhm.
spoke about the healing that you had to go through. How were you able to heal that aspect of the father wound? Because I mean, I'm assuming it's still a process. It's not something that ends just like this, you know? But there's so many other women out there who are struggling with either
Struggling
mother
with
or
that
father.
particular wound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So I've had two marriages, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you do get into a relationship, you look for your parents. We know this, that father wound, that trauma. And at some point in time, when was this point? A few years ago, it would have hit me that I was trying to find love that was parental love from my mother and my father. And I went looking for it in relationships and in friendships, and it would never be enough because you can't get that from them. And so I don't know, just the point of me realizing that I wouldn't get that from my parents, because they, at the point I realized that they were already dead, and they were not in that space, to even offer me anything like that. So I had to offer myself that. And so, okay, I can't get it from them, but I can talk to myself, I can love myself, I can find the child within me. And I would have studied a bit of psychology and family therapy and all of the different types of therapy to help myself through this process. Because like I dived into, okay, so how do we do this? And I've always been this kind of person where if I have a problem, I get up and I solve it. I
Mm-hmm.
find a way to do it and I figure it out. And so I would have tried techniques and um, while just awareness of myself. So yoga for me isn't the postures and that kind of thing alone. It's a bigger process. And in being more aware of myself and trying to figure out me, what I am, observe my processes, my patterns, I realized that I could not get what I was looking from my parents, from my father. That wound would not heal in that way. And it's an abandonment wound, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to start loving myself and giving myself space and taking time for myself. And I would have become very codependent and get people pleasing and wanting to give all of this love away, hoping that it would come back. So me pulling all of my energy back into myself is what made the difference. And starting to, again, it's all been self-talk for me. And I have had wonderful people around me who would help and be guiding force and whatnot. But most of it is um, talking to myself, being aware that this is what your hurt is and this is what we can do to heal it. And it's not always the easiest road, but every time I would get a little further. Every time I'm presented with a trigger,
Mm-hmm.
I would get a little further. And it's science, right? You're rewiring your brain. And And so eventually it got to a point where I think I recognized it this year, where I was triggered by something and I did not feel abandoned. I didn't feel awful. And I know what it feels like to be inside my head. And so I've been celebrating. I've been like, woohoo, my God, thank you. Because it used to be a dark place inside my head. But, it was awful growing up the way I did. And the lighter it became and the more grateful I became. And all these, as these wounds have been healing, I just feel so light. But it is a long process, varies for people, and I can offer my own experience in sharing, and I can hope somebody takes something from it. But it's so individual, like everybody is so different. So I do work with people, and what happens is that I have conversations, and just by feeling and chatting with them, I can kind of see what they need to progress and to hold space for them in that way. But personally, it was just, again, holding space for myself, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. I'm gonna actually put it to the comments to the wonderful people who are watching right now, if they understand the meaning of holding space. So if you understand what the meaning is of holding space, please just drop it into the comments like a yes or a definitely or no, I'm not so sure. But I would love for Meera to explain what that means.
Mhm.
I will share one experience of someone who held space for me that was was beautiful, and holding space can mean different things for different people. And it was
Yeah.
right after I lost my mom, and a friend of mine came over to visit me, and we were sitting down together in the living room, and she just sat there. She didn't ask me any questions. There was no questions. There was
No.
no, you'll get through this. There were no reassuring comments. There was nothing. She just sat. That was it. And I
Yeah.
went through every emotion I needed to. I was able to laugh about certain memories. I was able to bawl. I went through different moments just in that time. And all she did was sit. And it was the most beautiful thing that she could have ever done for me. And for me,
Yeah.
that was holding space. And it was something I needed at that very moment. And I mean, holding space can mean different things. So I'm just looking in the comments, and yes, we're getting some yeses. Nicolette isn't so sure, but for you, Meera, what does holding space mean for you? How do you hold space for others?
Basically, what you said, what your friend did,
Mm-hmm.
because I am there for you to feel whatever you have to feel, and and it is not sitting awkwardly; it is sitting in love. The difference is the intention,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to project what you feel onto anybody. And what other people do is there's this discomfort, because hard things, hard emotions make us uncomfortable because we are not taught to self-regulate. It's not taught emotional regulation. And so holding space is me being with you and whatever you want to do. If you feel like talking, we can do that. If you want me to talk, we can do that. You want
Mm-hmm.
me to sit quietly, whatever it is you feel, and you go with the energy, and that works. So we just do whatever you want to do and need to do in that moment until it's all over.
I think the biggest thing that you said a while ago was not projecting, like not projecting your personal assumptions or what you think this person needs at the moment, but really just being there for them. Alicia, let's see what Alicia says. Alicia says holding space is making room and being there for each other. No judgment, no lecturing, just understanding. So that is beautiful. That is, do you know Alicia?
Perfectly said.
Is Alicia
Huh?
your friend? Is Alicia
Alicia is one of my wild women from the collective. She's one of my best friends. Yes.
big up the wild woman who are doing? Thank you for joining us. That is true though. Holding space is amazing. Tell me about a moment when someone held space for you.
Oh, I have so many moments
And that's
of people.
wonderful.
It's hard to choose, but I can give you what the experience feels like each time.
Yeah.
Um, but okay, no, let's talk about recent events, right?
Okay.
And so when the flyer went out and I got this great level of support, because good things can overwhelm you too, because I had never learned how to receive.
But
I
hold
was
on,
always
we have to talk about that. You just brought it up, so we have to bring it up now.
sorry.
We gotta to bring it up. So just for context, guys, just for context, and I guess this would come into the next question, which was really about the kind of lessons that you've learned from COVID.
Yeah.
But you had placed on your social media very publicly a request and an offering. So you were
Yeah.
offering your art. And by the way, Meera is a brilliant artist, lovely designs. And you put out an offering saying that, you tell us, you tell the folks what you had put out, and then we'll talk about the other part.
Yeah, so I put up a flyer um, that offered one art for $35. So because we are all going through a hard time in COVID and we've had to change, business models, I thought the safest way for me I needed to pay my rent, and I just basically did a flyer that explained what we were all going through. There's so many people who were having these problems, and we are all suffering collectively. So I just was honest. I put my face on it, the reason behind what I'm asking for, and I thought that I didn't want. We are all suffering, so I didn't want anything from anybody. I don't know how to ask for things like that, but I can offer you a service. I do art. And so I said, the easiest thing to do, pledge. You buy one piece of art for $35 TT, and then you share the flyer and let somebody else buy it. And it wasn't supposed to be online. I shared it with my friends on WhatsApp to get 100 pieces of art, which would have covered my rent and the bills that I needed to. And it went viral, and it was amazing. I am still trying to deal with all of the love that I received, and that overwhelmed me. Like,
Mhm.
because when you grow up with one level of thing where it's not always pleasant and not always this amount of love, when you do receive love, it's hard. And this was the second time in my life where all of this outpouring of love was hard for me to manage. It untethered me. And so my friend Maria from the collective, she stayed with me throughout all of it, through my crying, because I cried a lot. Because there's so much love coming, and there's nothing else you can do when everybody's calling and they're offering you love, and people are buying your art, and just giving you so much dignity
Mhm.
in such a time, and telling me that I'm such a badass. I'm such, for just handling it the way I did. I'm like, thank you. And it touched her, and I could not stop crying. And so Maria held me, and she held space for me by just being there. She stayed with me on the phone all day, every day for like 8 days straight, and just being there. And she had her life, but she took that time off, and my other friends as well within the group, like everybody provided that space for me. So you can hold space in any kind of situation. But that was my most recent stint with somebody holding space for me.
Why do you think it connected so well with so many people around the world? Because your story did, like you said, it went viral. Why do you think it connected with so many people?
Well, they told me why, right? They gave me the answer, and they said because I was honest and I did not ask for a handout. I was vulnerable and open enough. And we have a stigma of sharing your stuff. I don't know if it's Caribbean thing or Trini thing, where you don't. There's a wall. You don't
It's a
put your business
Caribbean
up.
thing.
Don't put your
Definitely.
business online, and because you're shaming or whatever, it's like a shame. But I
Mhm.
didn't feel like that. I felt like I have to provide there are other people. We are all, no, who on earth expected a pandemic? And I'm high risk, my daughter's high risk, and I got to keep her safe. So it connected because I was offering work, and I offered work, and that is me wanting to do for myself, and so people wanted to help.
I think the beauty of it, in terms of your messaging, and for you are definitely speaking from a wonderful space right now, because in terms of the messaging, you were so vulnerable, and
Yeah,
you put your heart on that piece of flyer,
yeah,
and you said that you need to make your rent, so it was
yeah,
offering something in exchange of for
yeah.
value that you
And
could give.
it wasn't done from a place of like, when I designed that flyer, I made it as bright as possible because
Yeah,
I wanted, it was not supposed to come from a place of victimhood. It's just like, we are good, like we have been blessed, and gratefulness, like I'm so grateful for everything. We have been blessed, we have been taken care of, but we just have a situation, and it can be rectified by purchasing a piece of art. Like, it's not a, oh my God, we're dying, come save us. It was never that. It was, and I really wanted to stress on making it a right.
What just
Yeah.
jumped into my head was that dialogue or that narrative of moving from that the victim
Yeah.
self talk or that victim language into that empowered space, because that's what the flyo spoke from. It wasn't it didn't feel sad. It just felt like, hey, it was very beautiful and uplifting, just like you had mentioned. Your girls are showing up for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
It's lovely. And
Oh,
and Sita,
that
space is always here.
that's my big sister.
Oh, this is your big sister. That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So tell me about you being, because you spoke from that place of vulnerability, and it
Mhm.
literally opened doors. Like the everything just came in, the floodgates were open, the abundance started flowing in for you.
Yeah.
Um, how did mindfulness help you in that process of being willing to open?
Okay. I had to ground myself, because when you are hit with that amount of love, because it was not only national, it went international, and strangers were calling me and offering me so much love, because it was the conversations that I was having.
Mm-hmm.
And so each conversation brought something magical, and I had to sit and ground myself. And I am not a person who takes stuff from people. When I
Mm-hmm.
don't have, I get up and I work and I make for myself. And so there were people who wanted to just give me. So they gave me orders, but they also wanted to help and pledge towards rents, towards, things that we needed. And that like had me going, it's okay, you can buy a piece of art. That's fine. And but I had to stop, and what I was told is like, you are giving us a chance to do some good, to serve, and if you would allow us to serve you, it would be good for us. And so
Mm-hmm.
I stopped eventually. I just went, thank you, put my hands together, and thank you, and I am being open and learning to receive right now, and I'm gonna and just repeating that line as I go, and opening up my heart space, that okay, I am going to receive the abundance that's coming my way, and the love, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm.
And that yeah.
What you just said just stood out to me, that there's nothing wrong with it. There's no, what did you mean that there's nothing wrong with receiving the abundance?
Yeah, because again, people have a thing, they look at it as handouts, or they look at it as somebody having to save you or give you one. So I was shamed actually for part of it. So some people showed up and felt that I was wrong for putting my face out there, for putting my child's face, and for even talking about what was going on. And my response was, I there's nothing wrong with needing. We all go through hard times, and we are all currently going through hard times. So what is wrong with it? And I offered a service just like other people. I did an ad like everybody else, and people responded because they felt it. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's nothing wrong, but there is that shame that comes with it. Oh God, like you put your business, the same Caribbean thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is where that came in.
And I mean, do you think, in terms of that moment when you're about to hit post or when you're about to share it with your friends in WhatsApp, do you think that you were taking a risk at that moment?
I think, yeah, because it's something I knew would cause a little bit of, but I knew what I had to do, and I looked at it when I go, I feel good about this, I feel the
Mm-hmm.
energy of this, and I'm going to move forward.
Mm-hmm. How has life shifted for you? I mean, we've spoken about abundance flowing in and everything. How has it shifted?
Um, I things went from a survival space to a space where I can provide. I have enough orders to fill us like for the rest of the year, and it cemented my art business because people didn't expect the art to begin with. They like, oh, they thought it was stickers or something, but when they realized the level of art that I was sharing, this
Mhm.
handmade stuff, they ordered quite a lot. And I have a back order. People are willing to wait for the stuff. So instead of buying one piece of art, everybody's like, oh, well, let's buy gifts for everybody and buy stuff for Christmas. And they saw all the
Right.
pieces. So like it shifted into a full business and now I can draw. This is something I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be able to draw and share my art and that kind of thing. And so life is now about that, is about creating the art. I can now provide, we are safe, which was the biggest thing, right? We are safe and everything is, fine. I have one problem though. My battery is very
Uh-oh.
low.
Okay. But you're plugged in?
Yeah, I am, but it's still going down
It's still
just
going
so
on.
in
I
case
guess
it
because
cuts
we're
off.
on
Yeah,
video. I guess it's
yeah,
because we're on video.
yeah,
So let me just ask you like maybe a couple questions just in case we get cut off. But
yeah,
um, let's talk about the Goddess Initiative
yeah,
because as a result of all of this abundance flowing to you, as a result of the things that you've always wanted to manifest, you've always wanted to help other women
yeah,
and young girls,
yeah,
and this COVID and everything that has happened has presented you with that opportunity. So let's
yeah.
talk about Goddess Initiative. Tell us about
So, right before I posted the flyer, I felt frustrated as a single mother because I have so much skills. I've had my marketing business running, and that was doing everything. And I am an artist. I sing. I do all sorts of stuff, and I still felt trapped that I couldn't provide. And I'm like, can you imagine what other mothers felt like who don't have this ability? And so I
Mhm.
had a friend chat with some of my friends. Let's try to do something that would help mothers. Let's see who we can talk to make a difference, right? Oh, something is in my eye. Yeah, and that it ended up flowing so perfectly from the everything that happened. People just started showing up, and the a foundation like I started seeing it forming a foundation that we can help other people and the people for it, the lawyers and people who are offering services. I have so much people, legal aid, everything on waiting for it to happen, and then all of the legal parts of it showed up and what you need. Like it was just I just sat there and did nothing. So I decided to call it the Goddess Initiative, which is a program not just to help people financially, but to teach mothers, to give skills to mothers, single mothers out there who don't have it. So we can help you financially, but it's not only about that, it's about your emotional health, your emotional well being, giving you a support group so that if you need help, you have other mothers. And I feel that tribe and that collective of women is what we were missing. And that is what it's about, to provide a space where we can help other mothers. And we continue using the same pledge system. So you buy a piece of art, and that would go into the same $35 pledge that helped me, would go into the foundation, and then we've got some corporate backing, people who are willing to be a part of it and help and support. So it's growing. I don't know. I don't have all the details solidified as yet, but that is where we're going. I'm very, very excited.
It's
And forgive me, my
wonderful. Right now. There's a ticker scrolling. So if anybody
yeah,
wants to follow Meera and purchase a piece of art that would go towards the Goddess Initiative, you can definitely link her up on Instagram. But
yeah,
tell me quickly, like what do you want your daughter to know about you? Because we spoke about Cade,
yeah,
but we want to talk about Isabella for a second. So
yeah.
Isabella is a beautiful little girl, gorgeous little girl. She's a sweetheart. What would you want her to know about you?
Um, I always wanted for Isabella to have one parent with her so that she would know safety, she would know love, and I wanted to know that her mother is um I guess what I want for her is what I would want her to know about myself, which is that she is free. She can have her childhood, she can have her life, she can have her voice. Because in this world, that voice is taken away, and I would like her to see her mother having a voice and standing up and being able to take care of her, but do it not from a place. There's sometimes a lot of hatred in these kind of situations, and I don't want her to feel like I have any sort of hatred for her dad or any of that. I wanted to see her mother as somebody who is loving, who loves her, and who can teach her to be empowered, and she can stand up and do, everything on her own, just like mommy, and but also be able to live in a conscious space and give love no matter what has happened to you. You can always give love, and that's more or less, I think it.
Beautiful. That's beautiful, Meera. How's your battery right now?
We're at 2%. It's
Wow.
holding, but yeah, we managed 40 minutes.
But we've actually gone through the questions. I think this has been a wonderful conversation. I am hoping that the moms who have watched live and who will watch after, that they'll be able to learn and take away from your journey and your experience from being able to be open to receive and actually
Yeah.
seeing it happen, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So
It yeah.
I want
It is amazing, and that you get to a space sometimes as a single mother where despair sets because childcare is a thing. How do you take care of your child and go out and work? And I was still able to do it, and then with the pandemic it's even worse. So like, but there are always ways. There's always a way to do something once you have a will. And I want, because you want mothers to feel like they are supported and they have that ability to
Mhm.
do more and to receive it, because and take the shame out of it, because there's no shame. You are doing the best for your child. You are
Mhm.
doing the best that you can do, and you are the best mother just because you want to. And that's a lot of mothers don't understand, that just by showing up every day and doing their work, they are supermom, superwoman, everything. And I would like people to see that about themselves and understand that what they do, that they are enough. Because I think as mothers we are taught that we're not enough. You have to do everything all at once and kill yourself, and you're not enough. And what I want out of all of this is to help people see your own worth, just as I see myself and how much I love myself. I want other women to look at themselves and say, "Look, I am worth more." And that way, we heal the generations to come. We heal ourselves. We heal our children. We teach them how to, love themselves enough that they won't end up in situations that I we would have gone through, just to help them. We learn. We will end up in not so great situations, but then you have the tools to deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Thank
we
you
still
so
have some
much, Meera.
power.
Huh?
I
We
said we
still
still
have
have
some
some.
more.
We still have.
I'm holding out. I'm holding
You're
out.
holding. But at least people will know, like, if it does cut off, that's why. So we can hold out as long as we can go.
But just for context, guys, we had some technical issues at the start, so hence why we're begging Mira's battery to hang on a little longer. But I'd put it to the comments right now. If anybody has any questions for Mira, please drop them into the
Yeah.
comments quickly. But in the meantime, I'd love for you to talk about um because we've kind of spoken about like a mindfulness practice, and that would actually speak that blends nicely into our upcoming conversation, which is on Tuesday with Trishan Houghton. She's
Hmm.
coming back and she'll be doing a mindful practice around movement and breath. So that one is going
Okay.
to be wonderful. But I would love for you to talk to us about your mindfulness practice, because if there's anything that somebody can take away from this
Hmm.
conversation is how gracious you are. Gracious. So have what have you done to build that, to manifest that sense of grace in your own life?
Work with my who I what I call him my guru. Work with my friend Vade, where we would focus on. We use movement from the yoga. Yoga has been my saving grace in this life. That I've
Mm,
learned to have that. Um, the amount of suffering you go through kind of makes you more open. So, well, things can get better, because I've seen it go from really bad to really good. It always settles. Everything settles eventually. You just give it enough space. But I use movement and I use breath as well. Every
mm,
morning when I get up, I there are things that I do. I have a routine that helps me set in place the tone of my day, and it's something I developed. I'm actually working on an ebook for it, for moms, mindfulness for moms, and even like emotional regulation. There's a lot of things anyway, but my mindfulness practice starts from the minute I wake up in the morning. I focus I say a prayer when I get up, and I start my movements in the bed, and it carries on, and I do things that makes it easier for my day to go. Because you know it can get tiring and hectic and mad. You
Yeah.
know, being a mother and just being present in each moment and taking care of myself, then I can give to those around me because I don't get depleted. But there's a
Mm.
lot of movement and dance and just yoga and breath work. Whenever I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, I sit and I do a lot of breath work. Or and my art also adds to that mindfulness because drawing you have to be
Mhm.
present. So the art is one of the ways that I do it as well.
How can someone perhaps find something else? Because art is your therapy as well. You know, it's quite
It is my
therapeutic.
therapy.
How can someone else? Oh, I think Rhea is saying that we need the book, like need book A.
We're working on it, Ree.
I hope I said her name correctly.
Yes, that is correct, Ree.
How can someone else find something that would bring them joy or bring them that peace that you want to the movement?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
I think we're losing Meera now. Actually, I'm still seeing her, but she can't see us. But in any case, guys, yeah, we're frozen now. I want to thank Meera for joining us for the Mom Show. I want to thank Brunswick once again. We have a series coming up. We have 6 more videos that I hope that you will be joining us again to view. On Tuesday, we will be joined by Trishan Houghton, uh, advanced teacher of therapeutic yoga, and she'll be talking about mindfulness and also doing a movement and breath practice. So, this exact thing that Meera was just talking about with how she kind of grounds herself for her day and has been able to create a space not just for her physically and for her daughter, but a space of here to be more mindful and being more open to receive this abundance, which she's literally manifesting. I think this next video in our series will be perfect to help you develop that practice as well. So, for the meantime, guys, I want to thank you for joining us for the Mom Show. If you have any further questions, drop them into the comments. I'm sure Meera will see them. I will see them. You can inbox Island Mom. And if you are a mom in the Caribbean, feel free to search for Island Mom Group on Facebook and join us there. We have over 5,000 amazing women throughout the Caribbean and the diaspora where they're supporting each other, building each other, and nurturing each other in this whole process of crazy motherhood, because we all know it's crazy and it can be totally overwhelming. So that's a safe space as well for you if you want to join us in there. But thank you again for joining us, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye, guys.